Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He was the #1 U.S. stock market timer in the January 2020 edition of Timer Digest. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Mark, do you still have your special offer for our listeners?
I do. For those who like to subscribe to any of our newsletters, go to VRTrader.com. That's Victor Robert, VRTrader.com. And when you get to the order page for whatever newsletter you select, you simply enter the promo code 2020 half off, 2020 HALFOFF, and you get 50% off for any product for whatever time frame you decide to sign up for, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and so forth. Thank you.
For new listeners on HowStreet.com radio, can you give us a bit of your background on Wall Street and your media appearances?
Sure, Jim. You know, it's been a long career. Started for me back in, let's say it would be the mid-'70s, on the floor of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Knew absolutely nothing about the market. A friend of mine told me about this new exchange that was opening, the CBOE. I was living in Florida at the time. Just come to Chicago. We'll check it out. They're selling cheap seats, like $10,000 a seat on the subscription. Things end up going to well over $1 million down the road and so forth and so on. But so you go down there and take a floor exam, and they stick you in a pit, and you really know nothing about trading, and you sort of learn as the order flow comes in as a market maker, buy in the bid, hopefully sell on the offer, and do some spreads and whatever. Of course, when I was down there, call options were the popular vehicle. Put options hadn't put in yet. That came a few years later, but obviously it's a much more sophisticated system now. And after that, I ended up moving to a couple of brokerage firms, working as a research director, and one of which was Rodman and Renshaw. Another was Freeling and Company. The latter was acquired by Cowen. And during that period, I got interviewed in all the media. Everything from Wall Street Journal to USA Today, Canadian press, all over the world. And I ended up making some appearances on the old Financial News Network, which ultimately got bought out by CNBC. And got on the Nightly Business Report with Paul Kangas as a market monitor guest for 30 years. Got a call one day from Louis Rukeyser, who had the very popular and innovative program Wall Street Week, which he launched, I think, back in 1972. Invited me on. I was a guest, ultimately became an ELF, ELF, on the program, where every week you call in a buy, sell, or neutral signal on the market. And after, during all that period, I ultimately left Chicago, came to Arizona, and I've been just publishing my letter ever since. And it was originally called the Volume Reversal Survey. We changed it to VR Trader, where VR stands for Volume Reversal, which is my technical tool. And I've been very lucky over the years getting a lot of press exposure and being out in front of the market. But I got to tell you, nothing can tear me away from the markets. It's the gates open every morning. The horses are out of their gate, and I don't know what life would be without the markets. I see markets as the closest thing in life to a crystal ball. You can see where new technologies, new trends are emerging, where you can see money flows are going, and it really is the crystal ball just for about everything that's going on in the world. So it's just an exciting business, and been very lucky to have had all these years that I can continue to do it and watch it every day and trade and write my newsletter. So thank you for asking. It's been a long career, almost 40 years now, but having a good time doing it.
Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, announcing today that He doesn't see any interest rate hikes for the next 5 years, and he wouldn't mind some inflation. What's your take on it?
It's funny because the long bond actually broke today. Actually, been breaking the last few days, and in the charts, it looks like a downtrend here. Now, how long that's going to last, I'm not sure. But when the TLT, which is the ticker symbol for the 30-year bond ETF, breaks, that implies higher rates. And it's funny that he's saying just the opposite. The market is saying, rates were upticking here a little bit the last few days, and particularly today, whether it's just an aberration for one day or two, and then we end up going the other way, particularly since we've had all this talk about the potential for zero interest rates here, even though Powell himself doesn't admit that's going to happen. I guess everybody thought out that was a possibility, and that's one of the reasons the bonds were rallying so strongly and rates were so low. But just interesting that just the opposite happened today. Some savvy trader friends of mine are short the bonds and made money here on the break in the last couple of days. Particularly today was a nice break, so that means uptick in rates. So let's see how this plays out.
Bob Hoy, our historical expert on the markets, said the Fed and other central banks are under the illusion that they control interest rates. Really, it's the international bond market that does that. Do you agree?
Oh, I'm a big proponent that the free market determines what's happening, and the Fed is sort of a pawn in the whole game. So I would agree with Bob's comment. The tail wags the dog. It's not the Fed's decision. The market's sort of forcing the decision. And sure, the markets are too big, and that's the case. So I think that when we look at the Fed's change of policy here in the last several months, if not longer, considering what's going on in Europe, how low rates are there, and we were starting to uptick here, and then we went the other way. Of course, they blame the virus for that, but it's an international market, it's a free market, and the government's intervention in the market is usually after the fact.
I know the government will tell you low interest rates will help a recovery, but if low interest rates were the solution, Japan should really be booming because they've been around zero for the last 30 years.
And so in Europe has been for a while as well. So there's more to monetary policy, economic growth than just interest rates. And what actually is happening, what you mentioned Japan, is their stock market recovered. Even they were forced to pretty much do something besides keep rates at zero. So the government got involved buying stocks and ETFs over there, and that's what's happening here in the U.S. And I guess it's going on in Europe. I'm not sure. So a lot has to happen to move things. So I guess the plan is get the markets up, and they're doing a good job doing that to encourage economic optimism and financings, and that's probably more important than zero interest rates. If the Dow wants to continue to move up, and the Federal Reserve wants to go in there and buy Dow futures or individual stocks or junk bonds, that they were even doing that recently. I think we talked about this. If I read correctly, they bought some Hertz bonds, which were basically junk. Why they did that, who knows? But if they're in there buying the markets up, that's going to do more, I think, to turn the economy than the zero rates. Because once there's a wealth effect that's created, makes people feel better, and allows companies to raise capital, which hopefully is used to expand and hire people. So long-winded answer, but I think there's more to it than the Fed.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Is the action by the Fed today enough to make a difference on what's happening with gold, and what do you expect to happen with gold?
I'm still bullish on gold overall. I think we have a risk here of the dollar, staging a rally. It's real oversold. It's giving some signs of that. It had a little false start a few days ago and started to uptick a little bit today, and that sort of influenced the gold market. Over time, I really haven't been a proponent of the inverse relationship of gold and the dollar. I mean, I always look at the markets independently. There are times where, gold and the dollar go together or go in opposite directions, and it's not always an inverse relationship. But the Street seems to be focusing now on the dollar as the key here. And I suppose if the charts are correct, we seem to be in some type of bottoming formation in the dollar. If it's not a big bottom, it's a trading bottom of some kind, since it had such a big decline. And if we do get that rally and everybody's convinced that there is that inverse relationship, we could see gold under some pressure here again. We saw a shakeout, as you know, from in U.S. dollars, from 2080 down to 1880 about 2 weeks ago, and then we bounced back, and now we're sort of testing the 1900 level again. I mean, if the dollar starts to rally, gold could break that 1880 and get into the 1700s, if not lower, even as low. I can even see 1650 as a possibility if a nice rally in the dollar emerged as a possibility. So, but outside of that, I'm not saying you should sell all your gold. I mean, I could be wrong, and we may not get that much of a rally in the dollar, and there's still, reasons why you would want to hold gold. So I don't think the move is over, but as a trader, I'd be fishing for it, or take, as we've done, like part positions. And if we do have an opportunity to buy cheaper here in the next 30 days or so, we'll do it.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after the break.
Value from success. Growth in discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, anything happening with the cryptocurrencies?
Everybody got excited about the cryptocurrencies, and they did have a big run-up, but now they turned a little soft again, and it may be related to the same phenomenon we just discussed with the U.S. dollar and an inverse relationship, because it seemed like the Bitcoin was sort of rallying with gold, and that the chart formation is almost the same. I'm looking at Bitcoin. We had the big surge, pull off, rally, and then pull off again. So I'm sort of the view that there's probably more there too. For the same reason there's probably more for gold, but you have to do a little fishing. And we have GBTC, which is the Bitcoin Trust, which is, I guess, more or less an ETF for Bitcoin on our watch list. And we're watching that. And if we can get a little bit more of a pullback in that thing, and that would probably tie in with gold going down and the dollar rallying in that scenario, then I'd be interested in taking a trade in it. So it's already had a big move, as you know. Even Bitcoin itself ran close to $12,000, and it was about a year ago $3,000. So it's had a huge move already. So I'm watching, and I think there's a play there. But as a trader, I'm watching and hoping for a pullback, not at this price.
Any stocks or groups that have really caught your attention?
There's just a couple out there. I mean, there's so much going on, so many stocks. I mean, people could just talk about, Tesla going to new highs every day and Apple Computer going to new highs every day, and it became almost an easy market in looking at those two stocks. But we've been looking at things like related to the growing of crops and gardening area, like a name like Scott's Miracle-Gro, SMG. It's on our list. We actually bought some today for our service. I think we're up about 3-4 points in it today on a trade. But, the whole genre of growing vegetables and maybe marijuana or whatever anyone wants to grow, and people's interest in that. And there have been stories out there and some research we've done ourselves about possible food shortages in the months or years ahead. We have a lot of climate issues going on. I know out here in Arizona, in Phoenix, we've hardly had any rain at all. We're supposed to be monsoon season. The state is dry. There's a lot of stuff going on a geocosmic basis too. So I can see where, learning to do some gardening and stuff wouldn't be such a bad idea. And there's this other stock which was really hot in the last couple of weeks, Grow Generation, GRWG. Of course, Jim Cramer on CNBC had talked about it and helped run the stock up. He really liked that, and I think it ran from $9 to about $23. Now it's back to about $15. But what these people do is they got offices and locations, all over the western United States. And I think they specialize in hydroponics and stuff, which was personally a very strong interest of mine. I like to get into that myself, grow your own food and not necessarily use soil, but hydroponics. And that's sort of related to Scott's Miracle-Gro, the idea of growing your own stuff. So it's not it's not Apple Computer, it's not Tesla. These are sort of areas that have attracted my interest, and they have become tradable. And, we're watching those and trading them accordingly. And there's always other interesting areas out there, but that in particular sort of stood out for us. Another area, we're still keeping an eye on the self-defense stocks like Sturm Ruger and Axon, which is the old Taser, and Smith & Wesson, those type of companies, as people get nervous about the U.S. election. I unfortunately think there could be, we already have sort of a civil war underway already here in the U.S., unfortunately. You can see what's going on with various localities, particularly a city like Seattle, which lets criminals run around the streets and kill people and raid stores and do all kinds of stuff without any repercussions. So there's a lot of fear in the Democratic states that this could continue. And whoever wins the election, no one's probably going to accept the election as so easily, and there could be more violence. So I think these type of stocks are generating interest on the part of people looking to defend themselves. So it's sort of an area that we are watching very carefully and have done well in them up to this point, though we do trade them once in a while. But those three names sort of stand out for me. And that's sort of it at the moment, I think.
Mark, can you tell us about your special offer again?
Sure. You go to vrtrader.com, and you go to your newsletter order page, and in the promo code section, enter 2020 half off, 2020 HALFOFF, and you get 50% off for any newsletter for any time frame you specify. That's at vrtrader.com.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
It's fun. I enjoy doing it. Thanks so much for having me.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. He was speaking to us from Arizona. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.